Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's indivisible. Huh? It's indivisible. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay.
Again, good morning. Consideration of agenda items. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have a change.
Yes, Sheila.
I would like to table number 7, the public hearing, for consideration of approval for the 2020 McLeod County fee schedule.
Okay. To the next meeting.
Yes, please, November 19th, 2020, or 2018.
Very good.
You very well may want to open the meeting and then recess it to that new date to avoid having to republish and all that stuff.
Okay, we'll do that at the set time. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hearing no other corrections or additions, I move to approve.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have a couple public hearings this morning. First one is,
Consent agenda, Joe?
oh, excuse me. Yes, the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Mr. Chairman, sorry I'm late this morning. I was doing a little road tour and got detoured.
We're glad to see you.
Thank you.
Well, your detention will be after the meeting. All right, I think we're at our public hearing now. Colleen, good morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me. Motion to move to the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead.
Okay, so today I'm here to present the capital improvement plan and the plan of finance to bond for $10 million for 2019 series bonds. I'm going to read over the capital improvement plan, and then I'm going to do just a little bit of summary on some of the pages in the document. So the capital improvement plan, on November 5th, 2019, the McLeod County Board of Commissioners held a public hearing regarding capital improvement plan to address the infrastructure needs of the county. The CIP applies to the 5-year period from 2019 to 2023. A capital improvement is defined as an acquisition of betterment of public lands, building, or other improvements within the county for the purpose of county courthouse, administrative building, health and social services, facility, correctional facility, jail, law enforcement center, hospital, morgue, library, parks, or roads and bridges. An improvement must have an expected useful life of 5 years or more. One of the goals of the boards was to bring departments together, providing better service to the taxpayers and achieving cost savings. In December of 2018, the McLeod County purchased the Young Klaus Implement Building located in Glencoe at the intersection of State Highway 212 and State Highway 22, and the MJRP LLC surrounding properties with intentions of combining several facilities into one. Once the facility is renovated, the McLeod County Government Center would house several county departments, including administration and finance, public health, social services, assessor, recorder, auditor, treasurer, and license center, veterans services, information technology, building services, SWCD, and have room for other departments or agencies as necessary. Bringing many of these departments and the boardroom under one roof will increase efficiencies for use of staff, resources, and ease of services for residents. Consolidating the location of these services will increase sharing of resources and reduction in the cost of maintaining separate facilities. Upon Upon consolidation into the new facility, the following buildings will be sold: Health and Human Services, North Complex, Silver Lake Highway Shop, Lester Prairie Highway Shop. The CIP has specifically considered the 8 factors outlined in Minnesota statutes, section 373.4, subdivision 3A. The results of the consideration of these factors are detailed on pages 2 through 4. The project proposed in the CIP will not result in unnecessary duplication of public facilities provided by other units of governments in the region, nor is there insufficient demand for the proposed projects. McLeod County also recognized the importance of keeping up with our infrastructure and has implemented a local option sales tax to help with our increasing maintenance costs of maintaining our roads and bridges. It is the intention of the board to bond for $6 million to use towards our road projects, with the payments to be made from the generated revenue from the local option sales tax. The CIP will be considered for approval by the board following the public hearing. So the project summary: the projects submitted for the CIP are as follows: renovation costs of $4 million for the McLeod County Government Center that was not bonded for in 2018, and McLeod County will use $6 million towards road and bridge projects. In the opinion of the board, each of the 8 criteria described in MS 373.4 subdivision 3A has been met. And then there is a listing, other than the $4 million of renovation, there is a listing of the road projects that the $6 million will be spent on. It's CASA 115, CASA 15, CASA 2, and CASA 3. The source of funding is the issuance of capital improvement bonds under provision of Minnesota Statute Section 373.4. The $4 million bonds will be repaid through the levy of a general property tax not to exceed in any year 0.12% of estimated market value of property in the county for all CIP bonds, including the new issue. The $6 million bonds will be repaid through the Road and Bridge Fund with the money raised from the local option sales tax. The bonds are expected to be structured in the form of fixed-rate debt and are expected to be sold as bank-qualified transitions. The bond issuance sizing. So the $6 million in GO bonds for the road and bridge projects is estimated for a 5-year payback. It was under the PFM's instruction to pay that off as quickly as possible because it is not being repaid through property taxes. And the GO bonds for the remaining $4 million will be set up as a 15-year payback. So the bond dates will be December 15th of 19. The interest due will be February 1st and August 1st of each year, commencing August 1st of 2020. Principal due annually beginning February 1st of 2021. And there is Exhibit A is in the packet for the payback of that bond. And then the 2019 bonds for capital improvement plans. Bonds dated December 15th of 2019. Interest due February 1st and August 1st of each year, commencing August 1st, 2020. The principal due annual beginning February 1st, 2021. The bonds will be general obligation of the county, payable from ad valorem property taxes. A portion of the bonds, however, will be paid from lost revenues. And then there's also in the packet is just general information concerning the county, which just lists the Board of Commissioners and other officials in the county. And then the demographics of the county is also included to include the population of 35,959 people. And then it shows our financial summary with our general obligation debt at the beginning of this year of $18,431,779. And it has our indebtedness report showing, as of today, our outstanding principal on our GO bonds of $15,190,000. And then it shows our drainage loans of $2,140,000 and our septic loans of $1,101,779. Our legal debt limit and margin is $124,189,368, and currently our outstanding debt principal is $15,190,000 of that. And the calculation of maximum annual debt service levy by the McLeod County, we are allowed to have $4,967,575, and currently, with this bond included, we have $1,508,840. So we're well below our debt limitations. And then on page 12 of the document, it shows our overlapping debt, and what that is, it is all the debt of the cities, townships, and school districts within the county. And then page 13, we have property valuations and taxes. So it shows our net tax capacity of $38,608,661. Page 14 of the document shows 10 of the largest taxpayers in the county, our tax levies and collections for the year. And so far, this was what we've collected so far in 19 through the June tax settlement. We've collected $11,910,398, with the remaining $10,275,427 yet to be collected. But then we had a settlement after that in October, and we'll have another one in December. So for tax collections, we average 99.8% tax collected each year out of the tax levy. And then after Exhibit A, you'll see the bond repayment schedule. This is the $6 million for the road and bridge projects at a rate of 3%. And then on Exhibit B, you will see the $4 million for the capital improvement for the government center with the 3% interest rate. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I think we just want to mention that over the past 4 to 6 weeks, we've talked about this quite a bit, and we're still talking about the same $10 million bond. It's not numerous. We have had motions to do this. We had motions to accept the local option sales tax, but this is the final step of adopting that capital improvement plan and plan of finance with all the kind of the details and the nuts and bolts that had to get put together for it. So this is just the same one. We're not doing multiple $10 million bonds here. I think there might be some confusion out there.
Thank you.
This is getting to be kind of long and drug out, but we're getting there. I think we're to the final step. So.
Well, there's a step after this where
one
you
more.
actually issue the bonds, which is later on. But
Okay.
Yes,
it's all going to be
okay.
the
We're getting
same
there.
one. So you haven't seen the end of this yet.
Okay, one more to go at least. Okay. But I just wanted to make sure that that is clear. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 19 CB 47.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there any discussion?
I have one note.
Yes.
On page 7 and 15 of the capital improvement plan, the term expirations for Commissioner Nagel and Commissioner Polmeyer listed incorrectly.
Yeah, I'm not running next year. Rich is. I know you want to get rid of me, but you got to wait a few more years to even have a shot at it,
So
all right?
we'll
Okay.
adjust that for
Thank you.
Commissioner Nagel to 2023 and for Commissioner Polmeyer to 2021.
Thank you.
Reword the motion with those changes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good job. All right, motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sheriff's Office?
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Tim.
Hi. Tim Langfeld is not available today. He's out of the office. Item A, asking for you to consider approval of a quote by Northland Business Systems of Burnsville, Minnesota to upgrade the Sheriff's Office voice logger operating system to Server 2012 for a cost of $6,350 with funds from the E911 fund. The Sheriff's Office voice logger operating system will no longer be supported and needs to be upgraded to Server 2012. Northland Business Systems provided a quote for $6,350 to migrate to Server 2012.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the quote from Northland Business Systems for the Sheriff's Office voice logger.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Capital Highway Investment Plan. Good morning. Welcome. Just a heads up, the mics are sensitive, if you will, so you need to pull them pretty close to you for us to hear you, so. And don't worry, we'll yell at you. So. Yeah, right. Yeah, or, I'm not sure how to describe them.
Good morning. My name is Megan DeShepper. I'm out of the District 8 office in Wilmer for the Department of Transportation in the planning office. I work for Lindsay. I think she's been here past years, and she's just returning back from maternity leave, so I've actually been doing the outreach this year to all the counties in our district, and we just come and talk about our 10-year capital highway improvement plan. And so she's handing out 2 different maps. I will let her complete that before I start explaining what's on them. So you have 2 maps before you. The first map with the dates 2020 to 2023 on them, that's our area transportation improvement program. Those projects on those 4 years are commitments. The projects have been scoped. They're not as likely to change. The second map is the CHIP. Those are years 2024 to 2029. And those outer years are more fluid. Those limits could change. The pavement fixes could change. The years that the projects are being funded could certainly change based on funding from the legislature. So I'm going to try to cover the projects that are in and near McLeod County. The first one on the 2020 to 2023 ATIP map, number 2 in red, is the downtown Highway 15 reconstruction in Hutchinson, from 5th Avenue southwest to 2nd Avenue northeast. And then that's also in 2020 is the next one, number 3, also red on your map, is the Highway 15 pavement and ADA improvements from CASA 115, the roundabout, to 5th Avenue northeast in Hutchinson. Our next project would be down in 2022, so that's green on your map. Numbers 31 through 33 are all in your county. The first one, number 31, is a pavement wearing course project from just east of Renville, CASA 16, to McLeod, CASA number 7. And then number 32 in green is a reduced conflict intersection on Highway 212 and McLeod County, CASA 1, to the east of Glencoe. And then number 33 is also on 212 pavement hot in place recycle from just east of Renville, CASA 16, to McLeod, CASA 7 in Stewart. And then the last project is in 2023, number 38 on your map in blue, Highway 22 mill and overlay from US 212 to Cedar Avenue in Glencoe, and that includes ADA improvements also. And so those are the projects for those first 4 years. Now we'll jump to the second map that I handed out, the 2024 to 2029. And there's a few projects there. The first one in 2025, so that's kind of the purple hue, number 8. That's Highway 7. There's a bridge replacement over a stream crossing 1.8 miles east of the McLeod-Carver County lines. And then the last project that's in your county is in 2028. It's kind of the light green color, number 24. Highway 7 and 22 concrete pavement rehab on Highway 7 from the junction of 22 to just east of Grove Avenue in Silver Lake. And then on Highway 22, 0.6 miles south of McLeod County Road 115 to Shady Ridge Drive. And so those are all the projects that are coming in the next 10 years. I'll entertain any questions.
questions?
I have one. When we get to, like, the map you just covered, your 2024 to 2029, I know in our own five-way plan, years 1 and 2 are pretty firm. And as you get out from there, it's kind of, well, we hope that there's funding. We hope that there's, that'll work out. When we get to that 2024, 29, how firm is that plan, I guess? Is it just kind of a forecast, or I know that everybody has this massive funding gap, so I'm just kind of curious, when we get a few years out, is it just hope we get there, or do you actually have funding set aside to be able to work with some of that?
I'll let Lindsay kind of.
So, as you all know, the federal transportation bill only goes through 2020. So this is based on the funds that we project to take in if that bill stayed status quo, if we didn't get more funding. But this is based on a fiscally constrained plan of what we project to take in for state and federal funds over the next 10 years. It is all projections because we don't know what the legislature is going to do every 2 years, and we don't know what that federal funding bill is going to be, but this is projected at status quo. And there's been a lot of talk of increased federal funds or perhaps a funding package from the legislature, so that wouldn't include what's on here. Any additional funding would be above and beyond. So this is fiscally constrained with kind of what we project status quo. And as far as the projects that are identified on there go, they're really just a needs assessment from our pavement and bridge modeling software. So it's, like Megan said, the project could change, but these are our need identifications, if you will, that far out, because we haven't scoped these projects yet.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for coming out and giving us this presentation. But I do have, Glencoe is my district, so obviously there's a lot of questions about the intersections at Morningside and is it Armstrong? I'm losing it here. The one right by our Chandler. And but there's nothing saying that couldn't be put in 24 to 29, is there? I mean, obviously, it seems to me, if my memory's right, like County Road 1 and 212, that had been pushed up because of a need, or it showed as a dangerous intersection, or however you evaluate them. But I guess my questions are going to come, what about Morningside and Armstrong? I'm losing it again. Chandler.
Yep.
It's been a rough day.
That's okay. Well, and I should mention too, so there's a lot more projects on this list of the 4 years than there are on the list of the 6 years. And one of the reasons for that is that we do add projects in kind of in that 4-year time frame. We add safety projects in during that time frame, and simply because the process is that districts submit projects to our central office traffic office, and so they're picked a little bit later than some of these farther out pavement and bridge projects. So there are definitely opportunities to add projects, even kind of to this 4-year list, depending on if we get more funding, and then safety projects in the next few years too. So we did the transportation plan in hopes of getting some safety funding for those intersections, and that's actually that project number 32 on your 4-year map. In 2022, the reduced conflict intersection, that was a recipient of safety funding. And so those are programmed a little bit later than when we do our 10-year plan. So we can add in projects and into this, or move them out too, and so it's somewhat fluid.
All right, Mr. Chair, I have just one question, not really relating to aid. I mean, I know I'm going to have people ask, well, why aren't we talking about the 4-lane in there? And I just want to make clear that's not this district, as that's why we're not. It's just because I know people are going to ask me, well, you don't have anything in there. but it's not our district.
Right. Our boundary is McLeod County. further
I just
east.
wanted to make that
It's
clear
someone
because I know
else's
somebody's going to ask me
domain,
that.
yes.
But we definitely are in full support, and we've been, working with Metro on, ways we could support that 4-lane, and working with the coalition too, so we know it's a need.
Yeah, and I do know that you guys have been supporting it, but I just wanted to make it
Yep.
clear for anybody that's watching that
Yep.
it's just not part of District 8.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Ron?
Thank you, ladies. The item number 32, the US 212 and County Road 1 intersection. Is that in the design phase already, or do you know what the design will look like?
We don't yet. I think we just hired the consultant that will be doing the design, so we have not quite started on that yet. But
Okay.
it will be, here in the next few months, we'll get started. And we'll be in contact with John throughout that process, so that he's involved, as it's the county road.
Okay,
So-
all right, good. I appreciate that. The one question I have, I know this has come up with the intersection at Cologne and on Highway 212, and I think they call it a J turn
Yep.
in there. Are those designed to accommodate the heavy trucks that go through these intersections?
Yes, so like roundabouts, we've kind of learned things over the years as we've designed these, and we can design it for a bigger truck turning radius, and so that'll be something that we'll look at as they're designing this J-turn or.
All right, and when you do those type of intersections, do you also add additional acceleration lanes, if you will, so that, the through traffic doesn't get bottled up behind a slow-moving truck trying to accelerate
Yeah.
from a turn?
It is possible to do that. We run these designs through our central office kind of design unit, and sometimes we are able to do that, and sometimes we're not. So we'll see, this one has not started the design phase yet, so we'll see where that goes. And there've been a couple places, I think there's one in Marshall where we do have that acceleration lane and like a free right for vehicles making the right turn instead of the left. So there have been places we've been able to, and other places where we haven't. Just depends on the traffic volume and how it's used.
All right, I just encourage you to make sure they get the designs right and adequate, so,
Yep.
thank you.
There will be some public involvement as that design process moves forward too, so there'll be ways to be involved and provide input.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, just to add, I wasn't going to go there on that one today because I knew there would be some phases to get public input, but I also am getting a number of calls from heavy trucks on how this is, and I think some of them have been forwarding to your office or having them forward some of their issues, but there is an interest from this area, farmers especially, on how that's going to accommodate the trucks and how they're going to turn and cross traffic, and so there's quite a bit of interest in that.
Okay, thanks, that's good to know. We'll relay it to our design team, and then maybe they'll do some earlier outreach than planned too, so.
I think it's a part of getting understanding, and in the few years that I've been involved, I know that not all of them are the same. Some of them, before you have to cross over, are further down the road, and I think that's all in the design and how much traffic is going to be there. So I think it's part of an understanding on how it works. I mean, it's hard. I'll be honest, I'm not a big J-turn person, but it's hard to argue with the data. It saves lives. I mean, it's pretty much every meeting I go to, it's all through the state that, that it's saving lives.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many are in Minnesota now. I think it's under 20, but since they've been installed, there's not been one fatality at any of the J-turn locations since going in, where there used to be, many at these intersections. And Marshall's a good example of that. They, if you talk to their mayor, Bob Burns, he's a huge advocate for these now because they've just had no crashes there where they used to have, a couple fatals even, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Ron?
Ladies, just out of curiosity, I'm sure you've made this presentation across all of District 8. Where do you see the biggest projects going on in the next year or two?
Yeah. Two of the big projects are the gap projects on Highway 23, where there be 4 lanes, and the two parts that are kind of missing, so it'll be from Wilmer all the way to St. Cloud will be 4 lane.
And that's project number 25.
Yeah,
Okay.
so those
And
are both being done by our district, even though one is technically outside of our district.
That's a curious point to me, that,
I will comment that the funding has not come from District 8 funding. It has been Corridors of Commerce funding, so none of our regular program
Okay.
has been
all right,
impacted.
that gives me some relief.
Yep.
Otherwise, my question was going to be, is District 7, correspondingly spending some of their funds in our district as well, so.
Yeah, so it's District 3, and they
Oh, sorry.
actually are helping out on, I think, some of the design and construction pieces, but none of the capital program has come from District 8's money. Yep.
All right, thank
And
you.
the other big project is the Wilmer Y, which also has special funding. It got a Tiger grant. So again, that isn't from our regular pot of money. That's a big rail bypass of Wilmer, basically,
Okay.
including some road realignment. So,
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, one
Yes.
last thing. A sidebar is, being I've been active in 212, I also cross paths with everybody on 23. So I mean, there's something to be said about the coalition. And obviously, it's too bad that it had to be fatalities. There's been so many accidents on 23. But I guess my point is the coalitions do make the squeaky wheel per se. I mean, it does help. I mean, they've got quite a coalition that worked hard on 23. We've crossed paths many times, and so I guess what I'm doing is hurrahing our coalition for 212. But
Yeah, I mean, if it weren't for that fishing trip with the governor and the Highway 23 coalition member, there might not be this project right now.
and it is. I do know. I'm aware of it. I mean, they have all legitimacy to do that project. I mean, is a bad highway. I mean, it's a dangerous highway. So
All right, thank you very much.
thank
thank you.
All right, we are to the public hearing regarding the fee schedule. There is some interest to table that till our next meeting. Mike, you said to open it, then
Why don't you
table it?
open the public hearing and then recess it to a date and time that you think is appropriate?
Okay, so is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wright.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we'd look for a motion to recess this public hearing until, forgive me, help me with the date.
November 19th. November 19th,
November 19th
At
at
what time?
9:30.
9:30 a.m.
9:30.
Mr. Chair, I would, due to some confusion on our schedule, and hearing no input from a public hearing right now, I'd like to move our recess and reopen on November 19th at 9:30.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. We will move into county administration. Rich, your calendar?
Thank you, Commissioner Nagel. Since the last meeting, we had our workshop, obviously after the meeting. On Wednesday, then, I had a planning commission meeting. On Friday, attended the Farm City get-together at Hutch at the fairgrounds. I was there fairly early. It looked like it was very well attended. I know it's a little tough for some of the local farms because of the way the weather has, Mother Nature's not been real friendly towards harvest. On November 1st, I attended the District 7 AMC meeting in Mankato. Had a good discussion on some far-ranging ideas and some near-ranging ideas on how to go about funding some of the shortfalls in the transportation and commerce area. So some of those will be coming forward with more information at the EMC convention in December when we vote on policies for next year. Also made a few visits to County Ditch 32, observed some of the construction work going towards getting that crossing finished up with across County 15. So brings me up to today.
Okay, over the past couple weeks, I went to Farm City Days, as Rich had mentioned, and it was nice to see our solid waste department there with the booth and talking with residents and how to be helpful with the different services and programs that we have. Also snuck in a budget meeting, and I think that's it for the past couple weeks. Been kind of a commissioner through phone call as this field work and fall weather have been quite a trying thing, like Rich had mentioned. And for those who want to follow that a little bit, the latest, we kind of went through the mud, and I think a lot of that is now freezing for us. But it is the issue with the wet corn and the LP that is not able to keep up with the rate that the harvest is going. So it's not that we're running out of LP in the world, it's that it requires so much to be able to dry this very wet crop, as we're in this kind of a weird global warming that's got us extremely cold, and the corn is coming in at 17 to 20 degrees out of the field this morning, and we have to warm it up to about 140 to get for several hours to get the moisture out. And it requires an enormous amount of LP, more than we've seen in the past, and so we have a lot of drying operations that are limited as to how much LP they can get every day, and so those dryers can't even run 24 hours like they're supposed to. So lots of delays, and this is all across the Midwest. And I hear a lot of guys say they wish it was Christmas so we could look back and it would be all over with. But we can always say hopefully next year will be better.
All right, my calendar, after the last meeting, we had the Health and Human Services meeting, and we don't talk about that a ton, and maybe we should more, but what we did learn is that we had some success with a program that Health and Human Services is working with our jail and the inmate population and getting them back up and running. And I'm going to not do it justice, and even if I could, it would take too long to explain, but it was nice for us to hear some successes that we're having with the partnerships between the different departments. A lot of my commissioner work this last 2 weeks has been through phone calls too, so I appreciate that flexibility. We had, our family had some medical issues, nothing serious, but I've been on the road a lot to doctor's appointments, so I appreciate that flexibility. So that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As well, on October 22nd, we had our Health and Human Services Committee meeting. Thank you for updating us on that jail social worker position, which is really very helpful. On the 23rd, we had the Public Health Advisory Committee meeting over at the Hutchinson Hospital. Just doing some updating on bylaws for that committee, term definitions and so forth, terms of service on the committee. On the 28th, we had labor negotiations with our Teamsters units. That's moving along. Sometimes you wish we could accelerate things, but with so many people involved, it's difficult to schedule meetings as frequently as we would like. On the 29th, the Meeker McLeod Sibley Community Health Board met as a subcommittee to do a second round interview for our director candidate, and we have made an offer and waiting for final acceptance from the candidate to move into that position. So we're quite pleased with that. We're not certain if we will have the director on board this year yet or the beginning of 2020. So on the 30th, we had the McLeod Sibley Trailblazer Insurance Joint Powers Board meeting. We reviewed with our attorney, Darcy Heitzman, the revisions to the Joint Powers Agreement going forward with the exit of Trailblazer Transit from our joint health plan. And we also looked at finances of our current funded health plan. We're anticipating a need for another cash infusion to keep our plan solvent through this plan year and into the plan run-out claims expenses for going into 2020. On November 1st, Rich and I attended the AMC District 7 meeting down in Mankato, and very informative. They ran an exercise on negotiations and mediations that was quite helpful, and I think all the commissioners and staff that attended found it very helpful to help us resolve some of the impasse that we have when it comes to funding things like transportation needs. On the 4th, yesterday morning, we had Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership Joint Powers meeting over in Wilmer. That discussion, we finalized the budget and salaries and so forth going into next year, and we're doing salary adjustments of 1.5% COLA and 1.5% step movement on that pay schedule. And there was some discussion about inviting Sibley County, who is not a member of Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership, to potentially join. Our director will be in contact with Sibley County staff to invite them to consider this Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership. Mr. Chairman, I was late for our meeting this morning. I tried to squeeze in a little road tour. I was on County Road 15 and County Ditch 32. The excavators are still finishing up putting in the field approaches and the riprap this morning yet. So the road is not open and passable yet, but hopefully by the end of the day we've got some barricades removed out there. Also had some complaints on County Road 93 and County Road 63 about surface conditions. 93 had centerline tile installed this summer. There's still some rough spots out there. We'll talk to the highway department about getting those cleaned up. And 63, you just took a little check on there. That is a short paved road that we had considered reverting back to a gravel road. The residents were very vocal about wanting to maintain a hard surface road. Again, that's an issue I'll address with our highway department. Thank you. That's it.
Doug?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I also, after the board meeting on the 22nd, attended the Social Services Board meeting. On that evening, I had Buffalo Creek Watershed meeting, and I guess tied in with several other things for the last 2 weeks within the Buffalo Creek Watershed. We're looking at some water issues that we have up on our social services building and our property on the north end of town. And we have some tiling issues there that we're working on, waiting right now to hear from a jetter service to try and actually fully locate the line and see what's blocking. It is blocked. We've had some pumps running, which alleviated the problems for people in the yards. But at any rate, we're working at a couple different scenarios on how to temporarily and fully fix the problem up there. Yesterday, the 27th, I attended the SWCD meeting. And again, a lot of the issues, being we're joint powers with SWCD, a lot of our water issues coincide on what we're going to do as far as on-land storage and different ideas to, help with the ag land drainage. And then I'm going to have to look at my email here because we actually had some good news from Ryan Freitag that FEMA was out here on the 30th with 7 members and looked at all our claims, at lack of a better word, for sloughing and everything that we've turned in and on our flood mitigations. And they gave them a compliment that they exceeded some of the other people's lack of a better word, how they explained the damages and showed what was going on. And we still have till the 30th, I believe, to turn in any new claims. The bad news to this is that all the work has to be wrapped up in 18 months. And I don't know how we get that done. That's a bad thing. We're going to have to really coordinate. If we do get the funding, we're going to have to really coordinate with our contractors to get it all done. I don't know exactly why they do it that way, but it has to be done by the fall of 2020. And that brings us to today.
Sheila, anything to add?
No, thank you.
Okay, you can take item A.
Item A, consider approval to pay $264,650 to McLeod Sibley Trailblazer Joint Health Insurance Pool to cover the shortfall in the pool with funds from the General Revenue Fund. The authorization is a permanent transfer. The contribution requests from Sibley County are $173,300 and Trailblazer is $62,050. For 2019, this would put us to a total infusion for this health insurance fund to $582,230. The $264,650 is not all completely necessary to pay the overage on the bills right now. This would hopefully bring us through to the end of this plan. 2018, the plan will end. You heard Commissioner Szymanski give you some information about that. But of course, invoices and billing come in later than the year. So we could expect that to go through mid-year of 2020.
So we're hoping this can run us to the end of the plan.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ron, anything to
Mr.
add?
Chairman, yes. We looked at the finances and essentially our situation was, we had premium payments contributed by the partners as of November 1st, which gave us adequate funding to pay claims, but we anticipated by mid to late November we would be running short before the next premium contribution was due. This gives us a little buffer in our account. We anticipate that it will get us through the end of the year and probably into January, February of 2020. There are some substantial claims exceeding our reinsurance limit of $125,000 that we anticipate we'll get reimbursement from our reinsurers on some of those dollars, but as yet we don't have that figure in hand. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of the payment of $264,650 to the McLeod Sibley Trailblazer Joint Health Insurance Pool for covering shortfall.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item B, consider approval of change in previously approved health insurance contribution rates for non-union employees for single coverage of $781.84 to $793 per month for plan year 2020.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just curious why we need an adjustment at this point.
It's accounting error, right?
Excuse me?
There's an accounting error, right, for all the plans?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve moving the
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C.
Thank you. Item C, consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to hire a full-time temporary attorney for the period of December 1, 2019 through April 15, 2020 to cover 2 full-time employees' temporary leaves.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just a question that Mr. Young can maybe answer. Maybe it's just me, but a temporary full-time, could you just explain that just a little bit, what that exactly means?
Yeah, it means that we have a maternity leave and a military leave that are crossing one another, and we are going to hire a person for about 4.5 months. And believe it or not, we have done that in the past. That covered an 8-month adoption leave, and it worked out well for both us and for that person.
Also, Commissioner Kruger, when you say full-time, it's just referring to the number of hours.
And I actually, I kind of get it, but when you read through it, I just wanted to make sure that it was explained. I actually kind of knew about it and get it, but I just wanted to, you can do a better job explaining it than I can, so. With that, I move to approve it.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Young, Commissioner Kruger raised a question that always stirs my mind to pursue further thoughts. Does this position, now this is what, approximately 4.5 months? So
Right.
is it benefits eligible as an employee? Would he be
They're a
getting?
full-time employee during that period of time, whatever it is, I'm not sure.
Yes,
Okay.
they would be eligible for benefits the first of the month after 30 days. The likelihood that someone in a short-term position like that would be a large cost in benefits is pretty low, but they are eligible if they prefer to apply for them.
Okay. Would there be a difference between an employee or a contract for services with an attorney?
Typically, a contract for services costs you about 135%, which is the same as having an employee. We do not have a service that we use. If you're talking about just making a direct contract with that person, then the county attorney could do that, if that's
Yep.
what's preferred.
The other difficulty with that is that with a contract employee, they would have to go out and get their own malpractice
Okay.
or malfeasance insurance, and this way they would be covered under our MCIT agreement.
Okay. The only other question I had, and it's just for curiosity, so will these two current staff attorneys be on leave at the same time simultaneously, or will they be staggered terms of leave, or
They overlap.
they overlap? Okay. But basically, one temporary attorney can cover the duties of either of the other two in the interim.
I sure hope so.
Okay.
Are there guarantees when you hire people? No.
No.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D, notification of McLeod County Workshop to be held on November 19, 2019, following the county board meeting at the Glencoe City Center.
Thank you, and I'd like to add that we will be discussing the fee schedule at our workshop today, following the board meeting. Open forum, anyone wish to address the board?
Mr. Chairman, one other thing, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Under other prior to the open forum. We've been in contact with our attorneys that are representing us in the opioid litigation matters, and we are required to make an election prior to November 22nd as to whether or not we are going to opt into the global settlement or opt out. We aren't ready to make any recommendation about that now. We will have a recommendation for you at your next meeting, and if you want to go into a closed session to discuss that, we can do that. Otherwise, I anticipate that I would just ask for time at your regular meeting.
Okay. All right. All right. Press relations, anything? All right. Looking for a motion to recess to our next board meeting, November 19th, 9 a.m., Glencoe City Center.
Move to recess, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.